the talk show created by Platforce to connect professionals from the pharmaceutical industry, biotech, life science, and beauty from all around the globe. My name is Juliana Kreisel, and I'm so pleased to have you all here. In this episode, we will discuss the difference in the modus operandi of corporations versus startups in biotech, life science, beauty, and the pharma industry. We will chat about how the market is tailoring their strategies from broad awareness and client acquisitions to choosing the right CRM and effectively approaching the HPCs for these different types of corporation or companies. And as we're going to touch a lot of different topics, we invite you, our attendees, to write your questions down on the chat so we can direct them to our specialists and they will answer them for you. I would love to introduce my co-host for today, Mr. Stefan Rappin. Hi, Steph. He is the head of marketing here at Platforce. We hope to bring to fruition today the discussion to our audience, and we inform you to make this, and we invite you to this webinar and to every single other that we will be planning for the rest of the year. So without any further delay, let me invite our first speaker for today, Dr. Yvette. Hi, Yvette. How are you doing today?
Hi, guys. I'm doing fine. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited being here.
We are so happy to have you with us. We would love for you to give us a little bit of introductions about yourself.
Yeah, sure. So I'm a biochemist by heart and had a chance to get into full-on pharmaceutical environment, regulated environment, and have been working for some big corporate companies, including Roche. And had a chance to work on wonderful projects for different, applications for medicines and such. And then afterwards moved on into startup companies, supporting startups, small companies, trying to make their way into the big pharmaceutical biotech world. Yeah, and on that way, on that go, had nice stumbles, had nice success, a bit of both. And I think just the combination of that also kind of got me to meet you guys. And this is why I'm here, to kind of share lessons learned and see what one can learn from each other.
Nice. We're so happy to have you here. So as we said before, this webinars give us the opportunity to network and meet everyone from around the globe. So thank you. Thank you for taking the time. And then I would like to introduce our second speaker for today, Martijn. Hello. How are you doing?
Hello, folks. Good.
How are
Good to
you?
see you again after a lot of preparations.
Yes.
Greetings from the
Preparations being the
Netherlands.
keyword.
Greetings from the Netherlands. It's finally good weather, so I'm happy.
Nice. Happy to hear that. Martijn, do you want to introduce a little bit about yourself so our audience gets to know you?
Of course. Yeah, my name is Martijn van de Corporate. I'm one of the co-founders and the CEO of Insights. I would say that we are the thought leader in pharma and life sciences regards consent management with our services and solutions. A little bit of my background, and that was also the reason that I was attracted to be part of the panel, is that I think I have now working experience from over 20 years, and I worked for large corporates in the beginning of my career with all the struggles, and also was part of building up a scale-up company in the Netherlands in professional services, where we have to create a brand from the first day again after being part of IBM. So that was a huge challenge. And after that, I also was part of some boutique companies, small niche companies in payments. Also was a part of the leadership team in Capgemini. And then 5 years ago, I decided to start my own company from scratch with my partners. So I think Yvette and I can talk a lot about our experience in small and big companies, and not only about pharma. So feel free also to ask your questions that are not about pharma, because I think we both have a lot of experience also outside pharma. So be our guest the coming hours. Sorry, not hours, but hour.
Yeah, definitely. Please, everyone who is watching this, we always invite you to ask your questions, and our specialist will answer them or do the best to respond. We also invite you to share your anecdotes, stories, or anything that you may want to share with us today. So I will start with the conversation. Saying, let's tackle the big, I will say it's the big question that got us all here. What is the difference? And is there a difference in between the big corporations and the startups? What do you think about it? Who wants to tackle it first? Yvette, are you up for it?
Yeah, sure. I can go first. Yeah, thanks. So I think there's different angles one can look at, and just in trying to summarize or like kind of getting on point for this webinar. So there's different points of views. I come from a very quality-based focus, but we do also have like the sales and marketing focus, right? So I think in regards to this, I can give a bit of insights as of the regulated, as of the quality management, because yes, you do have to have customer relation management. Specifically in pharma and medical device, you do have to have a healthcare representative, but sometimes they don't go digital. They kind of stuck in their old ways. And this is no difference between corporate and startup, but the startup is a bit more agile, flexible, and faster and willing to adjust. So they see the support in these now digital customer relation management systems. And I have been working in big and small with and without digital customer relation management. So it was either person-driven or digital-driven. And I can clearly say that there is, to some regards, difference in big corporate and startup. They do have money, the big corporates, the startups don't, although the startup are actually more willing to try. So this is kind of a catch-22 that was an experience I've made.
Yeah, I fully recognize that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I fully recognize what Yvette says, also because my current company has also gone through that stages. But what I really want to pronounce is and to add on what Yvette says, is that what is a really big difference for me, if I look back to the last 20 years, is if you work for a corporate, you have the convenience of having a brand, a really established brand. And what you often see is that people buy from big companies because of their brand, but also because of the security. And if you start a new company or almost a new company, you have to build that brand. So you really have to be keen on, okay, what value I'm going to bring to the market, and how does it distinguish from the established brands? And that lasts a lot of years to establish this, and also cost a lot of money. But for me personally, it was always in my whole career was it a challenge, but also I loved it. But it's really tough to do it, because processes you can have in place, you can have systems in place, but at the end is what is your brand to the market? And I would say be very keen on that, because don't underestimate what a brand can make or break.
I love it. I love the concept about the brand and the importance and difference, and how the trust that people put on the big corporate, but leave the small or the startups behind. I will say we had that discussion, or similar discussion, I think, with you, Yvette, when we met long ago, about if that's actually a fact. And I would love to get your insights about that.
Yeah, sure. So actually, when I met Stefan, that's over a year by now, we actually had a similar start back then, talking about sales. And I said, you know what, sales, marketing, this is a very common topic for any product one has in their daily life. If it comes to very highly regulated companies, taking pharmaceutical companies, marketing is like a gray zone. There's even law specifically in Germany which does or does not allow certain kind of marketing, false advertisement and stuff like that. So actually working for big corporate like Roche, I wasn't even aware of marketing. There were no marketing. There's not the typical marketing you would know of. There's no flyers. Hey, try our new anti-cancer drug. You know, this is nothing that I actually kind of got to see. And yes, there is something like sales, but it's not a typical sales representative. It is more a medical trained person who goes to the doctors as one of the targets and explains what the new drug is, what it's about, what it can do for a patient. So it's not about selling. It's not about marketing it. It's about, also as Martijn mentioned, it's more about an awareness. So you can speak more of a brand awareness. So when I got to the smaller companies, the startups, that was the first time that I actually saw that that might be a big issue, a big problem for these small companies. It's not about yet selling, because when you're a startup, you're most likely still in the research, you're in the preclinical, you might be in a clinical already, but you're not on a market yet. But you already have an issue by finding possible providers. They're like, well, we don't know you. You're too small. You might run out of money, so they don't make business with you. So I recognized that me ignoring sales and marketing was kind of a break or make, you know, as we mentioned before. A full awareness is needed of that, because a brand is marketing, a brand is sales. So that was a lesson learned. And Juliana, we had this not fun, but kind of funny discussion where we brought up this Netflix series.
Yes, I love that.
USA. So that was before the regulation on marketing actually came into place. So not trained medical staff went and told the doctors, oh, take this drug, your patient has a broken leg or, you know, has back pain, just give that to them. It's awesome. And it caused one of the biggest opioid crises that is still ongoing, with one of the highest death rates due to a product that was actually implemented and meant to do something good. So this is kind of where I also learned to see that there's always a circle, and you always have to have a good look at where in the process you're at, and do not ignore what you might not need it yet, but you might not need it later, and ignoring that will not last in the long run.
Yeah, I recall our conversation and how it was important. Like we said, we discussed the regulations and things like that, and how in that show, we're not going to say it, but in that show, the regulations were not really there. Like they had huge parties and things like that, and how that made an impact in nowadays, because you now need to ensure that everything that you provide, and in the way that you provide, the marketing that you do, as you said, goes according to those rules that are set after this huge implosion, let's say, in the US. What do you have any inputs, Martijn? I would love to hear.
Now to add on what Yvette said, if you go to the sales process, I think at the end, of course, both companies, the big ones and the smaller ones, have to be keen on how they can support their clients in doing things better. And in the case of the HCP, I would always ask, okay, how can I make your work better? And not only from a medicine perspective, but also from an administrative perspective or whatever. But that also is the same if you sell professional services in a small company. You have always have to be keen on on building trust, and that's by showing genuine interest in the person, and also based on that bring value to the person. So I think a brand is of course very important, but in the end, people always want to see value in what you bring, and I think that's always a little bit the same. It's not that, for example, IBM sells everything very smooth because they are IBM. At the end, clients want to see value, and so that's also a parallel between the big ones and the smaller ones, in my opinion. What my experience is.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the case. We had in our long talk with Yvette, we discussed about the importance of value and not giving, because the selling part is not, no one's going to buy if you come and say like, hey, buy this, and hey, take this. You need to give the value to whoever is going to receive that. And I definitely agree with that. Other thing that Yvette said, I'm sorry, do you want to add something else to this?
No, the only thing is, of course, that you as a corporate, you have a longer time for sales cycles.
Yes.
And what you see in smaller companies is that it's quite tight, the budgets and the sales cycles, because you have to pay the people, you have to pay the organizations, and so the urgency to be of value as a small company. I always say you see that on the eagerness of the people in the smaller companies, because they are very willing to help you because they know that they can sell them. And in big corporates, you can see that people are, I also worked for corporates, that they're a little bit behind and think, okay, maybe next year or something. But that's possible on a big boat, but not on a speedboat. So you have to act, and that's. But before we go further, are there already some questions, or because we want some interaction, of course.
We want to know about you, who's watching us. Do you have any comments or any experience, or do you have any questions? Again, please do not hesitate to post.
I do have in fact, I do have a question. Well, I'm asking them to vote for a question. So question A,
nice.
How do startups and corporations differ in pharma and like other industries? What are the main differences? And the other one is about the acquisition, client acquisition in startups, and how does it work in corporations? Again, in pharma. Since our audience is passive, I don't know, audience, wake up.
Maybe they're having a meal now, because it's in the Netherlands, it's 6 o'clock. So
come on, and coffee.
Let's ask which one would you like to tackle. So question A or question B?
Yes. And regarding that question that you said, Steph, I think the first one was, we discussed, and you, Martin, also brought it up, how the startups need to be more aggressive, let's say, between in comparison with the big corporate. My question would be, and you, Yvette, also brought it in your introduction, you said that the startups are more flexible and more eager to transform and adopt these technological tools that we have right now, more than the big corporate. Can you specify or give us some examples, or maybe can we go more into that? Because I think that's very interesting in terms of, right now we're in a very digital era where everything is on the computer, the cloud. Can you specify or give us some examples, or maybe can we go more into that? Because I think that's very yes, I'm sorry for that. So no Yvette, can we go to that, please?
Yeah, sure, Juliana. So my experience on that, I have actually two examples. They're actually also independent on pharma or not pharma. It's about, being a startup that actually had a base of service, which was on the market, it was running. So you are up and running, you're on the market. And then you develop something new. Stefan, yes?
Yes, we want to develop something new. In fact, we have a comment from the audience, and the comment is, very spicy. The comment is from Mr. Mujahid Khan Patan. The question is, how are AI and machine learning being incorporated into regulatory intelligence databases to improve predictive compliance analytics? Let's see how can be that improved in corporations and startups.
Yeah.
Okay. You wanna take this?
So actually, since this AI is a hot topic, latest beginning last year. So I think latest since beginning of last year, everybody's aware of that. I have experienced myself that that company I was with at that time, smaller company, not startup level anymore, but small company, being very agile and flexible. They actually decided, okay, this is going to be something. And actually every department was told, here's access, we created access for you. You get the paid version, go ahead and play around. Get to use how it works and see what you could do that would help you on your daily base. They let you go for a few weeks. And then in accordance with you, they did sit down and said, what could that offer for your department? And I'm literally talking sales department, marketing, also quality department, product owner, so different departments. And of course, for some, it's easier. Marketing content, it's quite easy. If you go to, I'd like to have an upgrade on a quality assurance agreement on quality side, which these AI tools are also possible to do so, you still do have to have, as per regulation, 4I principle. I know that there's companies that start to do computer system validations on AI generated content. So I think there is some stuff that already can be done using AI. I think replacing the final control by humans, specifically for regulated environment like quality management, speaking pharma, biotech, medical device, even a beauty company that is 9001 certified or has a product that goes on or in your body, supplements, they're FDA regulated. So all of these will still do have the same challenges. So there are some companies who already have AI implemented tools. Yes. But I think the way for fully automated, no human needs to check and give a final approval, I think we're still away from that.
Yeah.
In our last webinar, Steph, I think you remember, I hope you remember, we discussed the AI implementation and how everything can, we can improve, but at the same time, at the end of the day, we still need a human being to be able to approve or not what is provided by the AI. Again, we have to remember that it's a tool. I would love to hear. Yeah. Do you want to?
I don't remember who said it exactly, but one of the guests actually mentioned that like your the results of your machine learning or AI is as good as the data that you give it. If you feed it bad data, then well, you're not gonna be happy about the input, right? One of the things that, for example, here at Platforce, we're very careful about the compliance and using AI and with being compliant using AI, because as far as I know, in Western Europe, the US, AI is a very hot topic, and compliance is a very, very, very big topic. That's why Yvette is saying, by the way, ChatGPT is wrong 58%. Yes, that's what we see. So basically, it takes a lot of effort on our side on building the product. But I think for pharma companies as well, to be compliant with AI, but at the same time, sort of like try to use AI to gain some benefits, gain an edge. Martin, do you have a input here?
Yeah, I hear all what you say, and I agree with that. But I have also another angle, and what I see now from AI, but I'm not an expert on it. Its mainly goal now is to be efficient in bringing data together and make content from it, or make an article of it. It could be efficient. But if I go to the commercial perspective, I think we have to be keen all before we use this, both as a startup or a corporate company. Do we use it in a way that it's still visible for our clients or HCPs that it's from us? Because my fear is a little bit that we're going to create a lot of generic stuff because we use the data which is available, but Roche can use it, but also Bayer can use it, and the chance that it will generate the same content So my point is, be keen on using it, because what I already said, if you want to make a brand, to build a brand or keep a brand, you have to be keen on the specifics of your company. What message do you want to bring? What is the values that you have as a company? So for me, it's an efficiency tool, but be keen on that you keep distinction from your competitors, how you use it, because otherwise it's all the same.
Yes, I agree on that. Like we need
But
to.
maybe somebody doesn't agree on it, so that's just my
If you
opinion.
don't agree, please let us know.
I have a comment. Okay, I have a comment. I would say
Let's discuss.
there is this marketer I'm following, Tim Davidson. He has a TikTok channel, and he says, "Okay, let's test today. Is it B2B or ChatGPT?" You know,
Yeah.
and you get crazy titles. A tool that helps other tools improve AI. Like, what is it? ChatGPT or B2B? Oh, it's actual B2B. You wouldn't think that people come up with with things which are like so much the same. So again, if you're using the same settings, the same input you're giving to your AI, that like everyone, you're gonna get the same results. There is no point in using AI if you don't expect it to be creative. So
Yeah.
you gotta disclose some information. Do an in-house AI. That's at least what we are doing. We're gating it. We're using it for our inside work. And at some point, you can also answering the question here from our listener. We instead, of course, you can use some regulatory information that is quite strict. You can use it for building, the database for your inside company AI, and that is possible. I've seen cases of doing that.
I would love to hear, Yvette, your anecdote about the creating data for getting information with AI, please.
Yeah. So that was actually a kind of a sub project we started in my last position, where we were supporting on an online platform, a web-based app for supplier qualification for pharma and life science companies. And one of the topics that popped up over and over again over the past year was pharmacovigilance. So vigilance is anything you need for any of the companies, beauty, supplements, food, all the way up to pharmaceutical. So vigilance is a hot topic, and pharmacovigilance is specific here for the pharmaceutical, but the base is the same. And when this whole AI topic got really hot, we actually sat down with our IT team last year and said, well, let's go and see if we can use all of the common vigilance systems. So there's vigilance systems available, open to public. They have to be by law. And we used ChatGPT and other AI tools to filter and sort and gather. So I'd like to say for data sorting or data gathering, so anything that is in the World Wide Web till January 22 is in ChatGPT. If you wanted to create something new out of it, you have to be very careful. But for gathering and data collection, I do have to say it worked very nicely. So we did an in-house validation by having experts, external pharmacovigilance experts, internal quality manager, by checking on this data that was created by this. And it was actually released as a prototype for some of our test customers. So it can actually work. And with easy tricks, you can also make it validated, but you have to be very careful in your user specification, what the product actually does or does not. And as long as you're careful with that and don't overdo it, you can actually have a very, very useful addition to your daily work. I am honestly not aware yet of full-on AI in a sense of, let's say, vigilance reporting for pharmaceutical or quality management systems. So I think we are still a step away from that. Not because AI might not be capable, but again, due to the fact that you do have to have a 4I principle. So you do have to have, so and as long as you can't validate AI, you will not have a second AI validated, which then would be 4I principle, because they're both yet in a sense of you're not a valued or like a validated system yet. But I do agree what Martijn also said. You can save so much more time for content creation, for summarizing. What is regulations for factor X? So any data that has been out till January 22 is in a system, and you can very nicely filter and get that.
Okay, we have a question here from Mr. Martin. Mr. Martin, we got a question from our audience. Finally, they woke up. So what is the better option for a new diploma holder? Joining a startup, working with a large corporation? You're on.
Yeah, if I understand the question correctly, this is from somebody that's leaving school or the university, I think.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, that's a good one. First you have to be keen on what kind of person are you, because I put this away because it's a little bit annoying. What kind of person are you? If you want to start, some people say, okay, well, I want to learn the first couple of years with kind of trainee programs and that kind of things. I would definitely advise you not to go to a startup, but to go to corporate. But if you want to work directly and see how things works or not, you want to experience that, but also put your sleeves, how do you say that, make the work,
Roll your sleeve.
Roll your sleeves, is starting in a startup. It's fun because every day you learn practical things, how it works. And I think in the corporate world you more are how do you say that, they will help you to be more theoretical, the best worker, but in a startup you learn every day how to work, and so it's up to you, but there's a big difference, and be sure there is more pressure in of be keen on that. There is more pressure on results and doing things right first in startups, because there is more pressure for results. So I wish you a lot of wisdom to decide on that.
Be wise.
Be wise. Yeah.
Yvette, we also have another question from the audience. Thomas Evangelides. I'm sorry if I killed your last name. It's not my intention. He said, speaking about AI, how startups and big pharma perceive sharing data and performing operations on the cloud. In my experience, big pharma companies are extremely skeptical and reluctant to use cloud-based AI services for drug design. Are startups more open to utilizing such services? I'm asking because it's much more convenient to set up these online computational services on the cloud to address development issues and regularly update them than to go through a licensing and installation on the premises of a big pharma company, which involves providing user support, installation instructions, troubleshooting, etc. Additionally, for resource-demanding AI applications, the cloud saves the cost of purchasing expensive hardware for just occasional use of the application. So
that's a mouthful. I think this is something for Yvette.
Yeah. So that is a question that I've actually been faced quite often with. So it always comes back, speaking of corporate, it always comes back to data integrity, GDPR, proper intellectual property, IP. So it is a hot and big topic for pharma. So, for example, it was a company and they wanted to implement a document management system very easy setup, really easy going. But the quality department had to do a change. So it's documentation, you apply for a change. What is it? What should it be? What's the possible risks? And then you do have data safety, data integrity, GDPR. So a quality team needs to sit down with IT people for that company. And most likely, yes, just due to that possible risks and additional work for the quality team, having other solutions, they might not pick you. So yes, this is a topic. It's a hurdle. So my recommendation on that is find out what tools they do use. Find companies, corporate companies that do have approved tools, and just find what is the cloud, what is the service, where are the servers located. Big topic, by the way. Yeah, if you're not having a European server and your data runs somewhere outside of Europe, Eastern or somewhere in US, they will not take your solution. So literally, this is something I can recommend. Do a little checklist, call it a change. And if you want to bring that product to a company that is highly regulated, you already did the work for the quality manager. So not only do you have the value we talked about, you're a startup, why should I take yours? Okay, your product is good and you have additional value. I don't need to do most of the regulatory or quality work. So this is my recommendation. Do not invent the wheel new. There is lots of other companies out there that have solutions for big corporate and for big pharma. See what's their solutions, if cloud, what kind of cloud, where's the service and stuff like that. And do a risk assessment on intellectual property, data integrity, data safety, and GDPR, and have these specifically highlighted out. And then if you show that to a bigger company, corporate company, it makes it easier. It's called supplier qualification. So you qualify yourself, and you will always need that anyways. So you kind of, as we like to say here back home, it's two flies with one clap. So this is a kind of a recommendation I can speak here. Yes, it is a big issue. Sometimes for not good reasons, but it is a topic to be aware of.
I love the not good reasons. We have another question from Salomir Pasco.
Yeah.
Again, I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name and last name. What's the best way to validate product ideas with pharma corporation? Any suggestions on how and what kind of roles should I look for?
Oh,
Who wants to
Martin.
tackle that?
Martin is our
Martin?
I'm not fully aware what is meant by product. Is that a medicine, a treatment, or a new concept? I don't know, but let's because that's not clear on this. Yeah, from my perspective, have a dialogue with your audience. Have a dialogue with the people that could benefit of the product. I see a lot of companies, and that's not only in corporate, but also in the smaller ones, that this step is often forgotten. Know who your audience is, know who can benefit of it, and talk with them. And also to make a link with other industries. I worked a lot also in the financial service industry, and what they also did, that they had a lot of client arenas, that they spoke with their audience about their financial products. And why do I mention financial services? Because they are also very regulated. Everybody in pharma thinks that pharma is regulated. I can tell you, maybe financial services even more regulated, and they were also pushed the last 10 years to come out of their comfort zone. And of course, being aware of the fact you need to be compliant, you need to be careful with how the things are done. But so maybe he's also asking what kind of roles. I would suggest also talk with people in the financial services that are how to say, involved in product approval processes. because each product in the financial service should also be approved, like in the pharma business, and they are used to work in a very regulated environment. But I think they are a little bit further already in finding a balance between relevance for the audience and being compliant. I see that's often a struggle for a lot of pharma companies, that they really stick to, okay, we have to be compliant, but there's also something like, what is the value? And I know that it's very stringent, but come out of your comfort zone. There are other industries that have the same struggles. Yeah, that's what I want to say.
I'll answer this as well, and I think Yvette, it's a very interesting topic. Thank you,
Yeah.
Salome, for bringing this up. So my input, we actually had a ton of discussions on this with Yvette, and maybe if Yvette has time, she'll tell us about like sourcing from Alibaba. How can you find vendors for your product if you're in pharma? Anyway, so my input is this. So Platforce is an example of how we're a small company, a small team. We're working with we're working with pharma, right? And we have a tech product which we're trying to sell to pharma. So the first thing that you should have in mind when you work with pharma, prepare for a lot of discussions. Pharma by far is very, very compliant. So you'll have all sorts of questions, even that might sound like very stupid for you. For example, consent. Martijn here has a consent management company. So basically, right? And it's very important for pharma to be consent and to do everything according to the rules. So when you create a software product, you need to know about the specifics of pharma. Second is like, consider your audience. What problem are you solving for your audience? Pharma, well, everyone thinks pharma has a lot of big budget, life sciences, also the same, like the Danons, the Roches, and the Grünenthal's of the world have a lot of money. Yeah, they do, but they're very, very careful about how they spend their money. And you gotta bring them a painkiller, not a vitamin. So very often what I see is that software products which are out there in the market, they are like a vitamin, which simple explanation is, why should I buy you? Like, what sort of pain are you killing for me? And if the pain is not enough, then they will not switch to your solution. Like they'll use pen and paper like they did before. Because number two about pharma is very conservative, yeah. And you have a lot of talks on low levels, let's say on the manager level, on the C level, C executives, and so on. How to validate? I think Yvette Martijn can help with that part. I already spoke too much. So Yvette, you want the microphone and discuss validation?
Yeah, sure. So I think the question is the best way to validate the product idea. So on a product idea, the first thing that came to my mind is the value proposition canvas. Maybe we can share a link for that. And that also reflects, Stefan, what you said. Give them a painkiller, not a vitamin. And quite often when people try to validate a new product idea, independent of it being an SaaS product for pharma, it can be a new bike, doesn't matter, or a new car, they kind of mix up the pain and the gain that a possible customer might have out of it. Because people will not pay the money for the gain. It's a nice to have, but you need, as Stefan mentioned, you have to have the painkiller, not the vitamin. So this is one recommendation I can do. And as I also helped bring in an SaaS product for pharma, for life science into this world. So what also my lessons learned is here, not only be aware of your potential customer. Of course, you need to ask them. But when you send them an email or try to contact, can you give me feedback? What's your pain? Sometimes they don't even know. So my experience is a LinkedIn poll. So you do your canvas, you have great ideas about possible pains, you might have some feedback already, and then you let them decide, and you will be surprised but what they actually tell you their pain is and what you thought their pain was. So this is kind of recommendations, free, easy to do, that I would like get you guys on a way with. In a sense of validate, I think we all agree, bottom line, the customer in the very end says, yes, I do need the product, and gives you the contract. And I think that is your final validation you do have. But other than that, these would be the steps. If you don't have a question on top, maybe we understood your question. It's a very wide topic. Otherwise, I'd recommend these from my side.
Yeah, and one thing to add on what Yvette also said, and Stefan, is it's not a shame also to build something together with the client, because then you also have your validation, and then you can scale it up, and that's what we actually did. And then you know for sure in a company that it's a problem. Then you have your validation, and then you have to think about how can I scale the product then. So don't be afraid to cooperate with the customer to build something.
I like the part. I'm sorry, but I really like the scaling that you said, that building and working with the client and building everything to meet their needs. Because after all, sales involves solving the need, as Stefan put it, as a painkiller. If you don't solve a need, then why do I need you at the end of the day? That will be the question.
The painkiller is really important, and that's also I have to say that's also the most challenging part, because you're also willing to mix up the gains and the pains. What Yvette said, that's often what happens, and we also did that in the past. So I recognize that. Don't do that.
We have one question on the screen and one question behind the screen. So let's tackle the one on the screen so we don't look. So everyone can please write your questions so we can bring it in here. How to drive success and do quantum leaps in startups? Who wants to tackle that? I see you, Yvette, nodding. So I think you want to go.
No, that's not.
So the lesson I learned is sit down from the very beginning with everybody responsible and define what is success. So I learned that everybody has a very different approach of what is success or what is a quantum leap for me. For quality is, oh my God, my quality management system is in place. Yeah, this can take 1 or 2 years. For marketing, oh my God, my email campaign, we got 30% conversion on traffic that got a setup call. So define what your goals are. They are most likely a bit more department specific. Also, honestly, in a startup, what I learned is corporate targets, like the big targets you have in big companies. You're far away from that. Start with the department success KPIs, because you need to learn what your company is. And before you will even, I mean, honestly, the goal is to make money and be known. But you are far away from that as a startup. So really define what's success for you. Is it monetary? Is it traffic? Is it conversion in a sense of paying customer? To some startups, it's more valuable to have 1 million follower in total on social media. And to some other, it's like, I need 5 paying customers, and they make my project going, or whatever it is. So it can be very different. So I think this needs to be defined first.
Okay, I like it. And then our second question behind the screen is, every corporate has started as a startup company. How long and when can you consider a startup a corporate? I love that you laughed.
Yeah, that's a nice question.
Martin.
It's a very nice question.
It's your question now, then, and then we'll go.
Yeah. Thank you for that. It's for me, a corporate it's a very systematic company with a lot of rules and a lot of things and a lot of processes that sometimes and sometimes, but also often not bring what is needed to be very agile, but also flexible regards your audience and your target group. But that's my opinion based on experience. When is it? I don't think that real startups end up in a corporate, because as long as that the founders and the first people that built up the first part of the company are still in the company, it won't be a corporate at all, because then you still have the mentality of getting things done, and if it's needed, change the strategy or adapt the strategy. So I don't think that a lot of startup companies will never end as a corporate. How I perceive how a corporate works, but maybe there are other examples, but I don't think so. No.
I'll give you my 5 cents. So if you guys know, this is out of pharma, but like if you guys know, Zappos used to be, well, they were renowned about their customer support. At some point, people would call Zappos's customer support and ask them to order pizza because the website wouldn't work for Domino, and then the customer support from Zappos would call the Domino's because they had a direct line, and they would order pizza for like customers, right? That and then the founder, who unfortunately passed away, the founder of Zappos, they were sold to Amazon eventually. He said the following thing: it's like, when I don't know by name every and each employee of my company, it means I've grown too big. It's time either to redefine it as a corporation or to sell the company. So I like that definition of a corporation. So if you don't know in person your employees, all of your employees, then probably you've become a corporation. I think we have a. Do you want to
we
add?
have a question.
We have a question too.
We have a question from Malen Durso. How can you effectively develop a brand awareness strategy? 1 second. A strategy for a pharma company that is well established in Europe and US, but it's expanding into new markets, let's say LATAM, where the team is comparatively small and resembles a startup. It's quite like a startup inside a big corporate. Have you ever dealt with something like that?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I think what I learned also with similar project is that you have to validate how this specific market works. What are the specifics of the market? What I often see is that that companies get traction in Europe and I think, okay, then we're going to the US, or from the US to Europe. We helped also a lot of companies that went from the US to Europe, but you really have to be keen on how does it work. For example, in Europe, you have a total other regime regards data protection. Europe is more digital savvy, or we are more established on using digital channels than, for example, in the US, what we see. So try to understand how what the dynamics are, the specifics are per country to get your message, because you're also asking about brand awareness, how you can bring your message to the right person. And that differs from data protection perspective, that differs from channel perspective, that differs from cultures, that differs from how people want to be perceived and treated. And a lot of people, I think, in the US think, okay, Europe is the same, because that's Europe. But we all know in Europe, we have a lot of different countries. Germans are totally different than the Dutchies. Can I say that? We are more direct. Doctors are also have an other perception how they want to be, how they look to pharma. They're very suspicious, but in other countries that is not. So my advice is try to understand how it really works in that market regards all these topics I mentioned. Yeah, that would be my advice.
I like it. Yvette, do you have anything to add?
Yeah. So I had the situation where I was like very, blue-eyed, as we said in Germany. You just do something, not thinking about that you're outside of your box, and got a full-on experience in, well, it works different if you walk outside of your door, literally. Yeah. The Dutch people are different than the Germans. The Spanish are different than the French people. So I always like to go back to the persona, make a country-specific persona, try to find advocates, social media user who have big followers already. They know the follower, they know the business, they know the companies. Invest in that if you can. Yeah, you will have more out of that than trying to do your own marketing strategy, because they already know the market, they already know whom to talk and where to talk to. So that is point number 2. Even for us supporting pharma companies in my last position, we used LinkedIn people or Instagram people who had lots of follower on these topics. Yeah, and ask them what they would like for an exchange, and you can make great advocates that kind of support you bringing the idea of what your painkiller is to the market. And also like getting to know the differences in general does help. For me personally, I don't know, I asked this question in the private chat. Can I say that? Can I actually do references, recommendations? So I stumbled over, her name is Erin Meyer, and she does lots of like content, and she did the culture map. And I learned so much from that book because it gives you insights into decision making, how open am I to conversations, how much hierarchy is in the country, and specifically on a business level, that is going to help you. So it's a recommendation I can give too. So persona combined with find somebody in that country who's already having a network, plus understanding the cultural differences yourself will help. That's my recommendation on that one.
I like it. Steph, you had something to add?
Well, so I'll answer with a quote from our ex-speaker. Her name is Claudia Adriani. She's a proud, who's a proud Venezolana. So she's from Venezuela, living in the UK for a very long time. She says, Europe, UK is for business. Latin America is for the soul. so
well, I'm Latin America, so I can tell you she's right.
Yeah. So if we're talking about markets, you have to take each individual market as its own. And the first thing that you should consider is market maturity. For example, if you take Latin America, right, Mexico is, let's say, a more mature market than Colombia. Brazil tops it all. Brazil is a very mature. I'm talking in terms of pharma technology and overall. Brazil is the most mature market that I personally have seen in Latin America. It's not bad. It's about the economic. It's about the economic state in the country as well. So if the economy is stable, well, pharma also developing quite fast. So you need to think about a particular channels that will work for you in that country. So if we talk about LinkedIn in Latin American countries, except Brazil, it's not really good channel. So you'll find people mostly on Instagram. You'll find people here on Instagram. You'll find people posting WhatsApp, even on TikTok, and that would be good. But that's the way how they consume content. So you gotta do that. Brazil again. In Brazil, it's a bit more interesting because they're maybe the market is bigger, maybe they have more money. I don't know, but they do have like even science show, like science talk shows, like Talking Pharma or something. discovered it recently from an event we are potentially going to. Nadia Bento, by the way, call out to her. She's doing a great job on creating content on the behalf of pharma and popularizing pharma. Just to finish this, in Asia, again, very big difference. Again, in pharma, big decisions are usually made in Singapore. If you talk about Asia, Singapore, Middle East has its own hub in Dubai, let's say. Outside that, you have India, big market. You have China and market on its own, where you have to adapt. We're at the top of the hour. Oh, listen, we organize this. We have another 10-15 minutes. Okay. We're having fun. Japan is another interesting market. But like if you're into pharma, then consider India, consider Singapore, and then China, Japan, Korea. These are the tigers. Yvette, you wanted to say something, right?
About the time, I think.
I have something to add, but it will be like a promotional segment of this talk show. We
Are there any questions?
It's related to this, so it's promotional, but at the same time, it's on the topic. We are planning to have actually another talk show for discussing the importance and the difference of the strategies used for brand awareness and client acquisition and things like that in Latin America. Because as Steph said, it's very different from, see, I knew you will like my promotional content. It's very different from the US and Europe. And as you guys said, even in Europe, they put I will say, sometimes you think them as a block, like a whole thing, but you don't separate the parts, because in Latin America, as Stefan said, Brazil is quite different from Mexico. Yeah. Mexico, it's different from Colombia, and Colombia, it's from Argentina. We have certain elements in common in our ways, in our behavior, I will say, but at the same time, it's quite different. Even when you're speaking to one, we have different life experience. So yeah, that will be my input in this. And yes, do you guys have something else to add regarding Yvette or Martijn?
Yeah, I asked a question a couple of minutes ago in the private chat for us both, maybe, but that's for the audience. If there is still some energy at the audience, that was the question. Where is it?
Which one?
That's the one about, yeah. What can the audience say about the difference in maturity and speed in digital transformation if you look to the more biotechs and the corporate ones? Yeah, let's say it like that. And I'm very curious how that is perceived, because I have an opinion on that, but that's not the topic now. But I'm very curious how people see that. Is there a difference in maturity and speed of digital transformation?
Yeah.
So we can test now if everybody's still awake.
Can you please, guys, come on, wake up? I'm kidding.
Is there somebody that worked for a big one and now for a biotech and can share his experience? Because
yeah.
Okay, well, we'll take it for grabs. Like, I guess we'll discuss it, and if there is a question, there is someone with a comment. I would say, yeah, there is a difference. So in terms of digital transformation, obviously, smaller companies should be faster. I mean, I know that for you it's rightly so, Martin, because we've been like we are partners for some time now, and I know you guys are fast. But you know, and pharma. What I can say about pharma is trying now to enhance this digital transformation. Even the leaders that I talk to, are the leaders that I talk to in pharma. They say, look, AI is a big thing, and we're certainly want to embrace it. Our providers ABCD are not interested in providing more AI, so we're looking for solutions. So answering Slavomir's actually comment there, yes, there is a gap there. So pharma, let's say software providers, not all of them are embracing AI in terms of like features that support AI. So there is certainly a niche in the market, and if you can help with that, that would be great. I think speed is the only competitive edge that you have as a startup. Speed and maybe flexibility, but with time it passes, and you lose it. That's why it's important not to lose momentum.
But do you already have examples, Stefan, from your perspective, that you see some biotechs are further than the big ones because of their that they are smaller and that they embracing more the opportunities from digital transformation, or isn't that your conclusion till now?
Yes, it is my conclusion as well. Well, we work with, again, I'll talk about Platforce. We work with a lot of companies who where Platforce is the first CRM they use actually. That's the first CRM they encounter, and then they see, not only for biotech but also for life science and for pharma too. Even an agricultural company approached us and say, "Hey, we see like a lot of common things here. We're going through a rapid digitalization here. Is there anything you can do for us? Like we're seeing a lot of common things in your platform that we could use for agriculture." And I was shocked. I was like, "Yeah, but apparently there is money in agriculture as well, and it's similar in some way to what we're building for pharma, life sciences, you know."
Yeah.
Yeah,
To be honest, I can, from my perspective, but everybody has different perspectives. I don't see. I think in showing how it should be digital transformation, I think the corporates are very strong, but I don't see it in practice a lot, if I'm being honest. And in the biotech scene, I see that they are, of course, very focused on getting traction, but they're also lacking the capabilities to really jump on the train on digital transformation because they have limited resources and money to really step on the train. But that's what I see. It's in both companies, it's not going that fast. But that's also, I think, that has to do with, because we talk a lot about that also in our company and with our clients. What the real problem is, I think, is that there is no compelling event yet for pharma to really jump on this train.
Well, I mean, I experienced live in both settings that they can both be fast. They can both be fast.
Yeah.
I do agree the average flexibility, agility is with a smaller and startup. That's a given. But I've also seen that big corporate, speaking of COVID, you would be surprised how fast overnight they were willing to go into digital outsourcing.
Yeah, because there was a compelling event. They had to.
Exactly.
They had to.
Yeah, so they can.
Story. Yvette, sorry, can you tell us the Alibaba story? I think it's it comes handy now.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, that was the start for my last work, for my last project. That just got out overnight, so to speak. And it was very useful to kind of have that little push. And I do agree that pharma companies should have, even if it's one person per company is fine. So you need one person per startup, you need one for corporate, who should have a specific business development subtask that is digitalization. And although they have bigger business development teams, they actually have less resources, which is unreasonable on these topics, because they do have enough money, they do have enough people working in business development, but maybe they do oversee it. Maybe they do not have the need, or I think they just don't have the pressure.
Exactly. And that I think, Stefan, I shared that with you in our previous conversations. The reason that digital transformation was a fact for banking and insurance was of the credit crisis in 2009, because their business model shifted very fast from financial results to operational excellence. And then they had to. Otherwise, we in the Netherlands or in Germany, you just now had to go to a bank office to open a bank account still in this time. But it's I'm wondering when this compelling event is really coming. And COVID was a first one, but what you said, Yvette, it was also a little bit fading away after that, because the sales reps could go out again. So yeah, but that's the truth. So I'm very curious what the really compelling event will be that they will accelerate this digital transformation.
Well, I think that at the end of the day, everyone wants to have, and everyone needs to still be competitive. And as soon as one of them start with that process, the other ones will follow. Because according to the movie Trolls, from it says no troll left behind. Well, in this case, it's the same. No company wants to be left behind, I think.
No, exactly. The fear of missing out is that,
huh? So guys, Steph, do you have anything else to add? Because we're running a little bit over our time with you, and we don't want to keep you here kidnapped.
No, let's wrap up. Let's wrap up with the discussion. First of all, thank you, audience, so much for being with us today. Follow us, subscribe to the newsletter. We deliver great news every 2 weeks. Please follow, but most important, follow our guests today, Dr. Yvette and Martijn, who are leading their own very, very great companies. Follow them on LinkedIn. Guys, do you want to let people know where to find you on LinkedIn, your emails, maybe your websites?
Yeah, sure. So my name.de is my webpage. And with that name, there's just one Yvette Schollmeyer actually worldwide. So you will not have hard times find me. So no excuses.
Yeah, that's the same for me. I'm fully available via LinkedIn. So if you have a question or remark or everything you want to know, just drop me a message.
And the website is optinsight.com, right, Martijn?
Yeah, www.optinsight.com.
Awesome. Yvette, do you have a website that people can look at, maybe contact you, your services?
Yeah, it's www.yvettescholmeyer.de.
D, okay, Germany, cool.
.de, huh?
.de, correct.
Yeah, genau.
All right, thank you very much for being our guest. Thank you very much to our audience. We're doing this for you. Thank you, Juliana, for organizing this. And see you quite soon. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Audience, yeah.
Bye-bye.